But I want to talk about the start, because starting is really, really important. As Jake and I know from last year, we almost won a lot of regattas, but our starting kind of fell apart right at the end of some of the events. But it's really, really critical, and if you start well throughout an entire event, you can make a bunch of mistakes on the race course and still win a lot of races. So the traditional way of doing it, and everybody's way is different. You know, you got the Birdman, Bissell, they're always trying to build Trump's wall on the starting line. You know, the interaction of the teammates is really important, and spatially it's really important. So some characteristics to know about a starting line are the ley lines. So your starboard ley line to the pin, your starboard ley line to the boat, your what's called a shutout ley line. If some of you guys have done some match racing, you see a lot of like Catalina 37s going, and they try to find the closeout ley line by just going dead downwind of the committee boat and seeing how far they can coast directly into the wind and shut somebody out. Like, that's a pretty common thing to know. And then lastly, your port tack ley line over the boat. So before the sequence even starts, like immediately when a committee sets a starting line, everybody should take the time, Dave Perry calls it doing your homework. You know, spend 5 minutes doing your homework, checking the ley lines, sailing part of the way up the course, 30% of the way up the course, see if there's any asymmetry in the first leg, you know, kind of get an idea of where the pressure is coming down. So the homework section of the starting sequence, I think, is really important and kind of sets up your whole sequence from there. I think guys who just kind of hang out and wait for the race committee to set the start, generally speaking, they're going to be on their back foot more than they're on their front foot in their starting sequence. And then kind of like at 3 minutes, you know, that's when the cadence starts to build. You know, I have a very specific routine. I'll kind of do my ley line checks between 3 minutes and 2 minutes. I always start at the boat. And then at 2 minutes, I'll try to be on port, sailing away from the starting line, whether it's up here, down here, over here, but I try to be in a similar spot every single time. And I reach away from the starting line, and if you have been to one of Dave Perry's clinics before, he calls this area over here the playground. Okay, this is where all the kind of the circling, the positioning, everybody's going to kind of hang out in this area. Even if you start at the pin, very rarely will you ever see a pin starter outside the pin ley line, you know, inside the starting sequence. You know, this is get caught with your pants down territory. It's like, if you're hanging out over here and you're racing against a really aggressive team, you know, they can come and try to take you out, especially in 2-on-2. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these international teams in the 2-on-2 come after us early in sequences and try to push us past the ley line. So this is kind of the safe area playground, okay? From 3 minutes till 1:30, everyone's kind of, you know, doing that sort of deal. And then at 1:30, this is sort of like the run-up. Like, most of the pairs will be kind of deep in the box. You know, current a lot of times plays a factor in sort of the run-up to the start. I'm kind of thinking it might be fun today to go set a course in front of the Bay Island Bridge or just to windward of that and play in some current. I know that's something that I really struggle with. But everybody kind of gets, you know, in this kind of push-pull area. And just like what we talked about in the 3-on-3 last week, the boat in the middle has a really tough job, because unless they have a good cadence of working with a teammate and kind of looking to win 2 pairs somewhere near the starboard ley line, they can't get too close to the pair on the right, and they can't get too close to the pair on the left. So the communication, again, that was a skill that we tried to emphasize last week. I think some people are better at it than others, but the communication between the boat and the middle pair is really important to, like, okay, you know, you're too close to me, you're kind of cramping my style, spaced out to leeward, you know, so on and so forth. And so, you know, it's just a tricky thing to sort of navigate. The pin guy is he's an isolationist. You know, very rarely does the pin guy ever interact with somebody. A lot of pin guys are edgy people inherently, and you know, if you kind of get into their stuff, they'll get upset with you. So you kind of leave them down there on the island to try to win the pin. And then the boat guy, you know, his goal is always to win the boat. Okay, basically, at all costs, you try to win the boat. And you know, Justin Law will win the boat, even if it means he takes himself out, you know, in the process. Which I'm not saying that you should do that, but in general, we want to win the boat and the pin. So the run up to go, there's a lot of pushing and pulling. The rule of thumb is in light air, you lead back to the line. In heavier air, you push back to the line. So, you know, knowing those, and current definitely plays a factor in that. If current is pushing you up towards the line, you probably want to push. If current is coming down the race course, you probably want to lead. Does that make sense to everyone?